We've got with us on the phone here, Jared. Okay, Jared, welcome to the program. This, by the way, is September 13th, and you're welcome to join us by messaging us at Dr. Dino Live. Go ahead, Jared.
What do you think is the most contentious? I flipped through it once.
I can barely hear you, Jared. Can you crank it up a little bit?
Can you hear me?
There you go. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, what do you think is the most important thing that Loop now points out in his book, the most contentious?
I think it'd be hard to say the most important. There are several things. Number one, he points out that dates don't jive, that all of these cavemen or ape men or whatever you want to call them, missing links, existed at the same time. So they can't be ancestral one from the other.
Okay, that's actually bad logic.
Well, that is. He points out from based on their date that these guys cannot be ancestral to anybody.
Why?
Because they lived at the same time.
That doesn't mean it can't be ancestral.
Well, if your oldest Homo erectus and your oldest Neanderthal are the same date.
Hold on, you have kids, right, Ken?
I do.
And do any of them have kids?
Yes, I have 4 grandkids.
You have grandchildren, and you're still alive.
Oh, yeah.
There you go. I guess you can't be the grandfather because you're still alive.
Well, we know...
it's obviously stupid logic.
Well, we know that there's a lineage here that I am the father and the grandfather.
Yeah, but exactly. That's exactly my point. The point is we know that you are the ancestor of...
You do not know that any of these bones are the ancestor of anybody.
Even if you don't know that, the fact that they are living together does not disprove that one is ancestral to the other.
Okay, have you read Lubinau's book?
I haven't read it, no. I've flipped through it.
Okay, I suggest you just read through it.
But the point is that logic is bad. Just because 2 species are living simultaneously does not mean that one did not give rise to the other.
No, but certainly doesn't prove that it did either.
No, well, of course it doesn't prove it. Of course not. But that's irrelevant. The point is, he's trying to use a fallacious argument to convince people that evolution is a dumb theory because it's something that looks bad on the face of it. But if you think about it for 10 seconds, that's obvious. It's not a problem.
Well, you are talking out of both sides of your mouth here because you told me weeks ago that if we found a mammal skeleton in Cambrian rock, that would disprove the theory.
Yeah, and that's exactly the opposite direction of thinking.
Oh, that's the same thing. Because after all, if mammals were alive in the Cambrian, there you got the same thing as some kind of lineage of humans being alive in this.
No, it's sort of like if we found, say, the ancestor of all mammals, the line that led to mammals. In the Cambrian, there was one, obviously, and evolution is true. If that creature were found alive today, it wouldn't contradict the theory of evolution.
Okay, what if all types of animals, all phyla, and classes and orders of animals were found in the Cambrian?
Different classes and orders?
Yeah, what would that prove?
That would prove evolution is false.
There you go.
But that's never been found.
How do you know a rock is Cambrian?
You know, here's the thing, Ken. If you give somebody a rock and say, how do you know this is Cambrian? Or you don't even mention Cambrian. How do you know what age this rock is? If you just give them the rock, they probably won't be able to tell you how old it is because, like you said before, there's different mineralogical types of rocks that are found in all these different layers,
right,
of all different ages. Sure. So it's not the rock, like just looking at it, that tells you how old it is. You have to do other kinds of tests besides technology.
What is the primary way you would tell?
Now, hold on. What is the primary way that you would establish the geologic column, or what is the primary way you would tell?
The primary way you would establish that a rock is the Cambrian era.
Today, with the geologic column established, as we said, you look at it in fossils, or you look at microfossils of pollen and stuff like that. Like you look at fossil markers. But that's not how they established geologic column, and that's why you're misleading people by saying it's circular logic.
So the 1830s science was better than our science today?
What's different about it?
Well,
they established the geologic column back then, and have never contradicted it. We just built on top of the.
No, why could we reestablish the same geologic column today with the methods they used?
Yeah.
Well, you realize, of course, that Lyell and others simply did sedimentation. tests of how much sediments are deposited in different river deltas.
Yeah. Now you're talking about the absolute ages, but the relative ages were established without the use of radiometric dating.
Okay. The relative ages, they dig a hole and they find reptile fossil. They keep digging and they find another type of fossil. They go across the English Channel in France and find, oh wow, the same sequence of fossils. It's
not just the fossils. It's the type of rock, the way it's laid down, the formation on the Earth. They look at the geology and the geography both, kind of put it all together, and it's sort of like a big system of equations. Mark pointed out.
You don't think that's fuzzy logic?
No, I don't.
I know you don't. You should, though, Jared. I mean, you have these mathematicians. Come on.
Yeah, here's the reason why I don't. Because if you have these igneous layers that are in between the sedimentary layers, the metamorphic layers,
got that all over the world,
right? That's how you establish the absolute ages.
No, that's how you establish a chronology of events, but it could have taken place in a few weeks or a few years.
No, not when the radiometric dates are reporting things.
No, wait. 1830s, there was no such thing as radiometric dates.
I know, but that's how we have calibrated. Like we've taken the geologic column that was already established and we assigned an actual scale in absolute time to it.
Okay, I'm sure you've seen the pictures of Mount St. Helens where hundreds of layers have deposited, lamina and microlamina were deposited in per second.
Sure, that's fine. What?
Why would we think that the Grand Canyon strata were not deposited in a matter of weeks or months?
Because those are not volcanic layers.
Oh, there are some volcanic layers in the Grand Canyon.
Yeah, but the Grand Canyon is not a volcanic deposit.
No, but there are layers of lava and ash in the Grand Canyon.
Yeah, and that's how you date it. Is you actually do radiometric dating on the volcanic layers, and then you literally interpolate between them to give good estimates of what the intermediate layers are.
Well, on my video number 7, where I talk about radiometric dating, I show that it is not correct. They just recently dated lava from Mount St. Helens and got 5 different numbers from the same sample, ranging 350,000 at the youngest to 2.8 million at the oldest. They got 5 numbers, all of which are different, number 1, and all of which are wrong for 2.
Was this done with isochron?
They dated it with, I don't know if you can call it up in the pictures. I can cover this video 7. I'm not sure which all metals or materials they look for. It's potassium, argon, uranium 235, uranium 238. Jonathan, is that on the RACE project about the Grand Canyon dating? It is, isn't it?
I don't know if they talked about specific instances a whole lot as they do the process of it. I don't think they talked about Grand Canyon too thoroughly inside there.
Anyway, the deal is, even if the Mount St. Helens thing is a problem, that doesn't nullify the huge amount of isochron dating that's been done on the geologic columns throughout the rest of the world has been consistent.
When did isochron dating come into play?
Oh, I think, it's been here since the 60s. I'm pretty sure it was established by then.
The oldest thing I have on isochron dating is like 80.
Yeah, the definitive textbook on that was written in this. But I think the method was actually discovered from
Well, of course, this is way after 1830 geologic columns.
Sure. The point is this is a test of the geologic column, because the geologic column is established. You create these things that you think are fictitious, like Cambrian or whatever. You have these lined up. Then you say, we think that these are the relative ages. Like, okay, fine. So then a test of this is that whenever you find these layers spread throughout these things, kind of engaged in between them, you get specific data points for ages at spotting. It's not very consistent, but it's spotted throughout it. If what you're saying is correct, if this is a young Earth and those layers were all laid down in a year-long deluge, then there should be no linear relationship between the absolute ages of those spotted igneous rock layers and the relative ages of the geologic column. But they are consistent.
No, that is not correct that they're consistent, nor is it correct that you would not get that.
It is correct. They are consistent.
Okay, well, let me give you from the Anthropological Journal of Canada an article by Robert E. Lee, of all names.
And you know why I know you're wrong before you even go on about this? Because if what you're saying is correct, the game would be up. There wouldn't be any evolutionary biology if what you're saying is true.
I think the game is up, and guys like you are not willing to admit it.
I've never seen anything about... Okay, go ahead.
Evolution is a dead religion.
First of all, it's not a religion. It's like, well, it's far.
Okay, well, let me read you what they said. Anthropological Journal of Canada, Robert E. Lee, called Radiocarbon, Ages in Error.
Radiocarbon?
Here's what he said. I'll just read it.
Let's forget about radiocarbon.
No, just read it to you, though. This is interesting. Okay? The troubles of radiocarbon dating are undeniably deep, serious.
Yeah, because you can't use isochrones on them.
Right. Despite 35 years of technological refinement and better understanding, the underlying assumptions have been strongly challenged, and warnings are out that radiocarbon dating may soon find itself in a crisis situation.
Yeah, that may even be true, Ken, but radiocarbon dating...
Let me just finish this quote. It's fascinating. I think you'll get the point. Continuing use of the method depends on a fix-it-as-we-go approach, allowing for contamination here, fraction extraction there, and calibration whenever possible. It should be no surprise, then, that fully half the dates are rejected. The wonder is, surely, that the remaining half have come to be accepted. He says, no matter how useful it is, the radiocarbon method is still not capable of yielding accurate, reliable results. There are gross discrepancies. The chronology is uneven and relative. The accepted dates are actually selected dates. This whole blessed thing is not 13.
Okay, first, is this guy a creationist or a number?
No, this is an anthropological journal of Canada. Robert E. Lee, never met him.
Okay, and you're sure that he's a typical...
Why would it matter if he's a creationist? Does that automatically disqualify somebody in your world?
Not automatically, but it gives a pretty high confidence that I should,
Okay. I feel exactly the same from the other side. Okay?
I'm sure you do, Ken.
Okay. Well, here's, you want to go to potassium argon dating.
Sure. Okay, now here's the deal. You can't use isochrones on carbon dating.
I know, I'm talking about potassium argon.
Okay, so what you just said is totally irrelevant.
Okay. You need to talk to the guy who was in charge of dating the moon rock. I'll get his phone number here in a second.
Well, I don't think there was no one guy, right?
Well, he was in charge of the NASA lab there. Several labs did things on it, okay?
Yeah, several different labs.
Yeah. He was assigned the task of, okay, how old is the moon?
Right.
I called him and talked to him. This has been years ago. I don't recall his name right now. Probably been 10 years ago. Because I asked him the question. I said, look, you got the moon rocks. You dated them. How old is the moon? He said, I can't tell you that because we got numbers ranging from a few thousand to several billion out of the same rock.
Okay, hold on. You talked to a guy at NASA that's not telling you this?
That is correct.
I would be very interested in having you second that story.
Sure. Okay, here is sample Nature Magazine. Nature Magazine, April 18th of 1970. On page 226, they were talking about how the KBS had been dated over and over and over using potassium argon dating and giving numbers ranging from 212 to 230 million.
Yeah, there was a problem with it.
How do they know there was a problem with it?
Because they used other independent methods that didn't match up. They were consistent with each other. That's how they eventually dated it to 1.9? Well,
the reason they even tested it, nobody would have thought to check it.
Was because they found the Homo
habilis
skull.
Yeah. Skull, KNMER 14.7.
Right.
They find a normal skull under...
It was not a normal skull.
Okay, they find a human-looking skull.
It was not even close to Homo sapiens.
But it was obviously not 212 million years old.
Yeah, it was a hominid skull, right?
Okay, they find a hominid skull under the KBS cup.
Yep.
Right away, red flags go up. Oops, we have to fix this problem.
Yep.
Had they not found that skull, they would not have considered this to be a problem.